Game starts at 7:08. Back to you.
So many parents feel as though their kids are distracted and detached because they're too addicted to their digital devices. Media expert Devorah Heitner believes technology has so much to offer our kids, but we have to teach them to take advantage of the system and not get bogged down by it. She has a book called Screenwise, Helping Kids Thrive and Survive in the Digital World. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
So I think we always go through this. How much is too much?
Too much if it's not working for your family, if your kid isn't getting enough sleep because they're staying up late to game, if they're stressed out. For some families, screen time during the week doesn't work. Kids are just too action-packed with activities, after-school clubs, other things. So really, you have to look at what works for your family and what supports your child doing the other things they need to do.
All right, so tip one, mentor more than you monitor. So when you say mentor, what do you mean?
That means you're getting in there with them and saying, hey, what does it look like when you're in the game? Do you have any friends who you don't like to play with because they're not that fun, because they rage quit or do other things like cheat? Is that ever you? What about on social media? Or do you ever see people not acting nice? It's one thing to monitor and put an app on their phone or their device to see what they're doing, but we have to actually engage with what we see or what they tell us as opposed to just watching and tracking them.
You talk about how some screen time can be more creative, so you should be emphasizing that over actually how much they're on the screen. So what would be an example of some good creative screen time?
Absolutely. Our kids can create music, for example, or write books and, make movies and do all kinds of really fun things online. And they can also, sit and just watch YouTube videos all day. But I would rather see them make a YouTube video. If they love to watch a cooking show, have them make some dinner. They can also do things that are useful in the real world. If they're into watching crafting videos, again, they should also be building some of the things that they see or getting some ideas. And then if they're old enough and you're comfortable, they can share back into that community, teach their friends how to do that really cool building hack or make that really cool pie.
And so the next one is curate your home to balance plugged and unplugged time, which I think we all know, but what's generally a healthy balance for, especially for kids, between 5 and 13, 14 years old?
We definitely want them to have some time to do their homework. Some of them are doing their homework on computers, and so one thing that parents will say is, I have no idea if my kid's doing their homework or just playing the game. And that's something where you do probably want to be supervising that to some degree and talking with them, and also checking back with the teacher. If your 10-year-old says he has 4 hours of homework, that's probably not the case, right? So I would check back with the teacher, and the teacher is probably going to say, no, grade level expectation is an hour or 40 minutes. And so then you have to come back to your child and say, okay, what's happening here? We have to make routines that work for our families. So for our family, listening to a podcast or radio over breakfast works more than having a visual screen. So we love to listen to a podcast together over breakfast. But it's also connected family time as opposed to each of us on our own screen over breakfast.
So is it best to have certain times of the day and week where you say, hey, you can do whatever you want or you can do this, or do you not have any rules and just kind of wing it?
I think routines are great, and routines can really, really help kids be able to predict if they know they really want to play their game for 3 hours on a Sunday and they know Sunday afternoon is kind of their open gaming time, then they can look forward to that, and they can also express those boundaries to their friends like, hey, that's when I can play that game with you, or that's when we can, get into the group text. It's great for kids to be able to express boundaries to their friends because kids actually have connectivity anxiety these days. They worry that their friends will perceive them as a bad friend if they're not available all the time. So to be able to say to your friends, dude, I don't text after 9 is actually really helpful boundary for kids as opposed to just saying, do whatever, and then you find them, texting at 3 in the morning and then you take it away. It's better to be proactive than reactive.
Are we too reactionary to a lot of this, though? I mean, taking the texting and messaging out of the equation. I mean, Larry and I always talk about that we were raised in front of the television.
Me too,
you know what I mean? And it's like you learned a lot of stuff. I remember those Schoolhouse Rock videos really well.
Oh, yeah, and Gilligan's Island, how to make a phone out of a coconut.
I mean, so is it as bad as we're making it out to be?
A lot of TV is downtime for kids, and it can be really pleasant. I would look at what they're watching. I would pick your battles carefully. There may be things you don't love, like when my kid was little, I didn't love Thomas the Train, but I also didn't feel like it was hurting him.
Yeah.
So I would pick your battles. The stuff that you really don't want your kid to see, I would explain why. Like, this content really troubles me. I really don't like the way girls are portrayed on this show or something like that, and really explain that because kids are more able to follow your rules about content if you explain them as opposed to just, I hate that, that's terrible, you know, which is tempting as a parent sometimes because a lot of the things our kids love, we may not love. The other thing is for older kids, TV shows can offer chances to talk about real issues. You know, like a show like The Fosters that I've watched with some tweens and teens, there's some really big issues on that show. It can be a doorway to open up some of those difficult conversations about maybe teen dating or school violence and bullying that might be tough to just bring up with your kid casually over dinner.
Well, thanks so much. Devorah is going to be speaking about raising digital natives at Knollwood Club in Lake Forest. That's Thursday at 11:30. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you.
Thank
you so much.
Time now for Round Tom.
Hey,